Welcome to Everything EFL. My name's Erin O'Byrne, and I firmly believe that you as a teacher are special, amazing, creative and passionate. But it's very easy to get burnt out and overwhelmed. With my podcast and my teacher training, I aim to help you avoid burnout and cut down on your prep time so you can unleash your creativity and enjoy your work more mindfully. Are you ready? Let's go! Okay, so I'm pretty sure by now you've heard me banging on about the Lexical approach. Good news, guys. Level up your lessons. The Lexical approach webinar will soon be here. Do you sometimes have students who struggle with natural communication, even though they've been learning the language for years? Do your students struggle with speaking confidently, or do you really feel like they're learning the grammar they need to communicate? Do you want to make your life easier with little to no extra prep time? Well, maybe you've heard of the Lexical approach, I'm sure you have, but you're not really sure what it is or how to implement it. Good news is, I got you. The Lexical approach, it's fairly simple. Everything just makes more sense with it. In my webinar, you'll find out what the Lexical approach is, how it relates to your students' brains, its benefits, how it can benefit you as well, and I'll throw in a few bonus activities and ways to implement it into your teaching straight away that will not overwhelm you. It will shift your mindset as to how you and your students should look at language. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, keep your eyes peeled on social media. Next week, that's Monday the 24th, tickets will go on sale. There'll be a discount for a week, and if you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll get an even bigger discount. I'll put the link to my newsletter below so you can sign up and get the discount, and I'll see you there. Hello, you gorgeous teacher. If you're one of my lovely regular listeners, welcome back. If you're brand new to Everything EFL podcast, you are most welcome. Although I will say, if this is your first episode, go back to episode 104. That's where this Cornerstones of Learning series begins. I advise you start there, listen to my pep talk, and go from there. Let's kickstart this gradual but palpable process of you shifting your mindset and making real impactful changes in your teaching and your students' learning. So if you're all caught up, let's talk about community. What is community? Well, a classroom community consists of a space composed of students who feel a real sense of belonging, coming together with the common goal of learning. Feeling a sense of belonging is critical since students who don't feel connected to their classroom community may not put in the effort to unify with their classmates. Why is this important? Well, take the pandemic. I heard a lot of horror stories, especially from mainstream school teachers, about behavioural issues, anxiety, depression. Kids are behind in their learning, which creates further anxiety and, lack of self-confidence. And, there's also other stuff going on in their lives. I'd argue it's more important now than ever to build community. So some of this overlaps with the last episode, of course, but that's the nature of this Cornerstone series. There's lots of intertwining notions, if you will. Basically, community builds trust. It allows students a voice and to know their voice is valued, and it builds those relationships with you and each other, creates a safe space for learning where students feel they can step outside their comfort zone, they can make mistakes and feel okay about it. How many times have you heard a student saying sorry when you correct them? Big on with that nonsense, I say. And also, they work well together. Will it ever happen overnight? No. Let's go back to that word. What is it, guys? That's right, process. So, how can we create community? There are a million different things. You just go online and Google, how do you create community in class? And there are tons and tons of ideas. But here are just a few here that are very suitable for language learning. So, I would say the first thing, practice mindfulness. There are endless benefits here. I'll go into that in more detail in a later episode. But just for a few ideas, go back to episode 41, where I speak to Laia Del Barrio, and she has 5 really nice activities for mindfulness to get you going. Also, check out my freebie, Mindful Grammar. The link will be in the show notes, which incorporates mindfulness and the lexical approach. And grammar. What more could you ask for? Also, check out episode 96, Go to Your Happy Place. Lots of really nice ideas there that only take a couple of minutes as well if you have a very limited amount of time. Quick digression there. Anyway, back to community. Community creates a more positive attitude, a calmer, more focused student. Oh, imagine that. Positivity and praise also create a great feeling of community. Episode 71 for more details. Make sure your students feel good. And, again, I talked about this in the last episode. Think about students' history, even adults. You don't know what experience they've had at school. You don't know how they feel walking into an English class. You don't know what negative emotions they might be experiencing, anxieties, triggers, millions of them. Who knows? They might dread coming to class, but they might have to learn because of job opportunities. And students and you are facing that particular barrier because they have to learn English. Maybe they're not that motivated. They just have to do it, or they feel they have to do it for more job opportunities. So a sense of community will make the class a much more pleasant and rewarding experience. You want these students to look forward to your lessons, or at the very least, not dread it. Make sure your students get to know each other. We all do those kind of icebreakers, don't we, at the beginning of term or whatever, but these need to be regular. So get your students to share stuff all the time. Like, what's in your bag? Pull something out. Talk about it for 30 seconds. Tell us something you'd like the class to know about you. There are so many things you can do that take just a couple of minutes. If you have a multicultural class, what can your students share about their lives? Cultural diversity, finding common ground, but celebrating those unique things and differences can be just as rewarding as well. Like I always say, everyone loves talking about themselves. Collaboration and problem solving, creating something. Task-based learning is good for this kind of thing. Can you get your students working together to create something or solve a problem? Now, if you're a mainstream teacher and you don't have a lot of time, you can at least do group work. The very minimum, they can check their answers together. They can do role play. Even if they don't always speak English, they're still working together. And that's the main thing. They're forming those connections. So that's just a very basic rundown. Like I said before, I don't want to overwhelm you. So I just kind of want to give you like a little taster. And I am going to give you one little activity idea that I found online that I thought was really nice. And then I'm going to give you your challenge. So here's a nice activity idea. And you can do this in the last 5 minutes of the lesson. So again, if your time is limited, it's fine. Give every student a note card and get them to write 3 or 4 facts about themselves. Then collect them. So that's 5 minutes in one lesson. And the next lesson, pull out a card and read one fact. Now, if someone in the class knows who it is, they can put their hand up. If no one knows, read another fact, crossing them off as you go. Remember, you may pull that card out another time. So if there are 4 facts on the card and the students guess within 1 or 2 facts, you can throw that card back in because you might pull it out and, go again. So this allows you to learn about your students as well. So if somebody writes, they have a pet chinchilla called Charlie, you can ask about him in a future lesson. How's Charlie doing? If you have a large number of students, then you can literally do this every lesson in the last couple of minutes. And it gets students to go out on a little high with a smile on their face as well. Remember, icebreakers like this are great, but they're not just for the start of term. Your classroom community, it needs to be built, it needs to be worked on, it needs to be honed. Think about how you can get your students to share, work together, find common ground, celebrate differences, praise each other, plan things together. It doesn't have to take too long. I can hear you shouting, I don't have time. But look at the example I just gave you. It could be a couple of minutes at the beginning or the end of your lesson. And it can make so much difference. Again, guys, process. So here's your challenge. It's reflection. Ask yourself, do you think that you have a sense of community? And I suppose you can figure this out by asking yourself the next question. Do your students willingly say, I don't know, I don't understand? Do they work well together? Do you know a lot about them? If the answer is no to any of these questions, consider how you can improve that. You could try the activity that I mentioned, or go online and find another one that you think your class will enjoy. There are thousands of really cool ideas out there. Try them. Like I said, they don't have to be super long. They can have a very powerful effect on your classroom community. Dying to know how you're doing with the challenges, guys. Please let me know. Please share this episode or talk to your colleagues. The only thing better than taking each challenge is to have an accountability buddy to do the challenge with. Now imagine that. You can also subscribe to my Breathe Easy Teacher newsletter. Yep, giving it a name. And this also allows you to email me and let me know how you're doing. And also I'll give you a few little, teachy tips or some advice in every letter as well. I'll let you know what's going on. If you like my style, keep an eye out because I will be putting out a webinar about the lexical approach very soon, which again is another mindset shift. I'm all about them. There'll be lots of light bulb moments and it's just pure common bloody sense. Do you know what? I was toying with the idea of calling my newsletter Common Bloody Sense, but I decided against it and went for the very friendly Breathe Easy Teacher. Am I making a mistake? Also, guys, with my newsletter, you might get a juicy discount on said webinar when I've decided on a date. Just saying. So, until the next time, guys, do the challenge, reflect on it, keep going, look after yourselves, be kind to yourselves, have a peaceful week, and share the love. Bye.